This poem I wrote actually several years after Borges was here giving lectures at Harvard. And it was 1967, it was during the Vietnam War and the protests, and that had kind of taken over. As you know, I was a young woman and my husband was a young man, and we were all involved with it. So there was this sense of Borges in this great old academic hall, and because he couldn't see, he lectured looking up like this, you know, so that he looked angelic in some way, you know, ethereal, otherworldly. But outside you could kind of hear the marchers.
Wow.
Borges in Cambridge, 1967. Bookish. My bookish friend called you. Bookishness, the failing grade he gave your genius, and his own after your first Mem Hall lecture on the riddle of poetry. In that afternoon's amber light, you spoke without notes, your translucent, blind face tilted toward the high windows. You seemed to be gazing heavenward, speaking softly enough to be heard in Victorian Harvard's memorial to privilege and its Civil War dead, that first heroic generation of losses that set Brahmin Boston on its downpath. Outside the old brick pile, students and bikers protested the war they hated, war we all hated, their exhilarating noise filtering unintelligible through the indestructible walls, righteous and romantic, like your romance with Argentina's gauchos, swashbuckling across the pampas. You thrilled your youth. You dreamt of wounding nobly with a sword, then endured life as a Buenos Aires librarian, in love with books you'd memorized but could no longer read. How otherworldly, how disarming you seemed telling us Cervantes' La Mancha was meant to be an ordinary place, not princely, as if he'd written, you said, Don Quixote of Kansas City. Kansas City and Mass Ave, your two favorite American phrases. I listened as if the SDS weren't racketing the perimeter of the yard, blazing quixotically for a future like the present with its lovely options, but without the dying, the brutal mutilations. Was I really in the hall then, or tramping outside? The retrospective Gail remembers both. I know I marched, my fist raised defiantly, like the other demonstrators, chanting our chants month after month, real to be mattering, to spill into the streets, to be counted, to count for something, absurdly beautiful, the single-minded ecstasy of a just cause. Now, memory conflates occasions. It pauses to hold open my two worlds, offers again the desperate, optimistic din, the quiet, lifelike love of art. The war we thought we'd help to finish never ends.